Hello, my name is Ed Villarreal. I am the Solutions Architect for Contact Center Enterprise for Worldwide Technology. And this is the second video in a series regarding Cisco Unified Intelligence Center for Contact Center Express 9.0. Now 9.0 is not yet released, but I do have my hands on a beta version, and that's what I'm working with now. And so the purpose of this video today is to talk about the customization of reports. So if you haven't seen the introductory video, I would recommend that you watch that one first. Okay, so what I'm going to start off with today is I'm going to actually create my own subdirectory for reports to house these a customized report. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this report drawer. It's gonna fill in this information on this main screen here, and you're going to see that I have all my reports listed and I have the folders in there. So the first thing, like I said, I'm going to create a subcategory or a subfolder within here. So I right click on reports on the top level, and it's going to bring up a screen here for me to enter a name. I'm just going to call it my reports. I'm going to give everybody rights to this folder. Click OK. Now you're going to see that it populated that one there, so now I have my reports folder. Nothing's in there, so if I click on it, it won't do anything. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save something into it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use one of my favorite reports here, which is this Contact Service Queue Activity by CSQ report. And there's a couple ways to actually do this, to save a copy of this. First would be if you right click, you can click Edit, and then you can just click Save As. And when you save that report, you just name it, and you can just call this one My CSQ Report, for example. And then you select where you want to save it. I'm going to put it in My Reports here, and I'm going to give everybody rights to it. Okay. So now you're going to see that it's, if we go over back to, if I close this out, and go back to my Reports tab here, I'm going to refresh. You'll see now there's, if I expand this out, my CSQ report is in here. So let's run it real quick. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to enter, I'm just going to enter the month here, 000000. I'm going to make this a 30-minute interval, and I'm going to select the sales. Now you're going to see that this is the basic CSQ report. It's going to be shown in here. All right. Now what we can do now is we can change some things in here. So this is a very customizable interface. So now that we have our own report saved, we can click Edit. Now if we were looking at the Stock Express reports, this edit would not be available for us because we cannot edit the stock reports. You have to use a Save As first. Okay, so now we can edit this report. We can go in here, and again, all the fields are listed in here. And what you'll see in here is on the right-hand side. Let's say, for example, on that CSQ name, the header. I'm going to right-click on here. I'm going to click Properties. Let's say that this customer doesn't like the word CSQ. They want Q in there. So all I'm doing is changing the grid display name. I'm clicking OK. I'm clicking Save. And what you'll see here when the report renders is that the name is now Q name rather than CSQ. So very easy to change those headers. Now, one of the other things that always comes up is removing items. Let's say, for example, again, that I don't want to display, for example, the CSQ ID. Nobody wants to see that, right? So I go over here, I click on the Remove selected, I hit the Save, and now that CSQ, when this report renders, the CSQ ID is now gone. Again, so you can select what you want to display in these. So let's go back to the edit. Another cool feature in here is the availability to add in thresholds. So kind of a visual indicator of what's going on. So Let's go to calls presented, for example. Let's say, for example, I want to add a threshold indicating that there was a call or maybe more than one call in that interval, for example. So here there's no thresholds right now, so I'm going to click Add. I'm going to put some type of filter in here, so greater than, I'm going to say greater than, let's just say 0 for right now because there's not a lot of calls in there. I'm going to change the text color. Let's make it red, bright red. Let's change that background color so we have a little bit of contrast, so now it's a little bit of gray. You could also substitute this with text. So instead of displaying a number there, if it reached a certain threshold, you could substitute with text. You can also substitute with an image. That seems to be a little more troublesome just because it has to be housed on a web server somewhere and it has to be sized correctly. Otherwise, it kind of blows up your report. So I'm going to click OK here. You'll see now that it's listed there. I'm going to just click OK, and it's going to take me back here. Now I'm going to hit Save, and what you'll see here is that now in that column where calls presented are, it's actually showing that threshold. Since I set the threshold as 0, all of them are going to show up. If I made it just one, just the one with the 2 would be highlighted here. Okay. All right. So another one that I wanted to show you here is I want to really kind of break this down to its basic elements here. So let's say, for example, you have a customer that just wants the basic information in here. How many calls came in, how many calls were handled, what was the interval, those basic items in here. They don't want to see all that other stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch here. So I'm going to get rid of all of the fields that are in that existing report. So I'm going to click Remove All here so we can start from scratch. It's going to give me a warning indicating that I'm removing all these headers, and yes, I do. So like I said, let's say that the customer just wants the basic information in here. So let's get the CSQ name, pull that over. Let's get the interval, start time. Let's get the handled and abandoned number of calls. Handled, abandoned should be up here. And let's also get the service level. So I'm going to use the service level with that's going to have the abandons are negatively affect the service level here. So and I'll also change this. I'm going to go to the properties and shorten up this name. Otherwise, that's going to be huge in the report. So I'm just going to make this SL. Okay. So if I save this now and we go back to the report, what it shows is just the basic information. Now, one odd thing in here is it repeats the sales 3 times, and that's because we don't have a grouping in here. So next thing I'm going to go do is add a grouping in here. So I'm going to say Edit. I'm going to go in here and add grouping, which is at the very bottom left-hand corner of this page. Right now it has 0 groups. I'm going to add 1 in, and I'm going to indicate that I want CSQ name to be the group, and I want a summary in there. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to click Save. And so you'll see when the report renders again, it's going to show that this sales is grouped now. Okay. Now let's also say that we want to add a header in here. So let's add a header in here. Let's say we want to group in. Let's say we want to put a header over this handles and abandon, for example. Let's say we want to add a header. We're going to call it calls. Oop. Calls. And so what I want to do is I want to move these two, the handled and abandoned, in there. So I'm just going to hold down the left button, and then drag it over to calls. And it's not going to cooperate. Oh, okay, I know why, because I need to highlight it first. Okay, so I highlight it, hold down the left button, then I drag it over here, it'll turn green, I drop it on there. So again, I highlight the field, then I click on it again, and then I drag it over. Now let's also move this one up. So I'm going to move this up here to the interval. So service level will be last here. So I click Save. And what you'll see here is now it's going to have a header over that section. So now I'm going to have calls, and the service level is going to be last. So you see how easy it is to create a custom report there with just the information the customer needs. Okay. You do not have the ability to change or to add fields. So I talked about in the introductory video about it this version not having the report definitions, and the report definitions store the underlying SQL query to collect the data. Also in that definition, it allows you to create calculated fields or formula fields. So all that is in that data, is in that report definition, and here we don't have the access to that. So again, we can't make anything. If we wanted to make some type of calculation based upon handled and abandoned and surface level or something, we cannot do that in here. So that's one limitation that I will say is in here right now. I fully expect that they're going to put out a version that will have that available, but for right now, what I'm seeing does not have that. So that's all I have for right now. I think on the third video that I put together, we're going to go through dashboards and putting together a simple dashboard. So stay tuned for that one. Thank you for your time.